Hey everyone, this is Mikas coming at you with another market update video. This is the medium time frame analysis that I was referencing in my shorter time frame analysis video. However, after reviewing the medium time frame analysis video, I decided to re-record it as there was a couple of things that I didn't exactly like. So please use all the levels defined in this video as those that I referenced in the shorter time videos, as I believe this would be more accurate. And I'll also dive into some of the shorter time frames towards the end of the video just to get a handle on where the market has moved. It's moved a little bit, not too much, but we'll still have a look nonetheless. So to get this started, I want to draw in a couple important trend lines. The first one is going to be a trend line of resistance that is going to be coming in or beginning its story back here in the the last macro high that we had, or the all-time high on the Bybit chart. And we're going to be drawing it through this last, the last local macro high that we had, right through the top of those. I like to use candle bodies as it's a little bit more aggressive, and just barely touch those wicks, try and cover as much ground as possible. But I'd say I'm pretty comfortable with that. Let's lock that in. That's going to be resistance. Let's draw in a couple supportive trend lines in green here. I'm going to be drawing a quite aggressive one from the wick of the Corona drop that we had through these two tests that we just had. Could even draw it a little bit more aggressively if you wanted to stay consistent with those candle bodies. Aggressive trend lines tend to be playing a little bit on the safer side. You could also argue for trend lines coming through any of these other wicks, which might be a little bit less aggressive, but might have a little bit more confluence with touching more candle bodies and wicks and stuff like that. So that's also a possibility, but I like staying a little bit more aggressive in the sense that I'm staying more conservative with my entries and my exits. You could also include one more trend line from the the high point here, as this was an ascending wedge in my opinion, which broke actually against what all statistics imply. It was supposed to be a redistribution, but we did break to the upside. So that just goes to show that these patterns aren't to be trusted all the time. They are simply probabilities. But besides that, those are the major trend lines I wanted to talk about. I'm going to be doing a little bit of Fibonacci as well on the medium time frames, as I find that pretty useful. So I'm going to be drawing a retracement from this last local high that we had to the wick of the Corona drop that we had. And this is the most important level. As you can see, we have been closing at least 3 days now below this 0.236 level. Yesterday being a little bit more aggressive, we'd broken above it a little bit more. Today slightly less. However, we still have a couple hours. We have about 2 hours and 45 minutes until the daily close, so technically anything can happen. But as long as we are closing below that 0.236 level, my bearish sentiment, at least on the medium time frame, is in play. So just to be very clear, as long as we're closing below this 0.236 level, at least on the daily, I am relatively bearish on the medium time frame. So that could be the next week, could be the next 2 weeks, a little bit longer of a time frame. So as long as we're closing candles below there, I expect us to pull down to this golden region of about the 0.5 to 0.618, where I will be looking to switch my bias from being bearish to bullish. So having said that, let's throw in some EMAs. So you can see a lot of the EMAs are bunched up right up here around the 0.382. So right off the bat, if you're entering a short move, that is a pretty good level to set a target. You can see that's why checking these other levels is important, and using a number of different indicators. So that is going to be a pretty thick chunk of support. So definitely set a take profit right around 8,100 or somewhere around there, maybe a little bit before it. But we'll get back to that. The one thing that I want to talk about, is as long as we're closing below there, that seems like a good zone to short. If you're looking for more specific levels to enter a short, make sure to check out the shorter time frame analysis video, as I do outline specific zones there. But I did promise to talk about targets in this video, so let's use the extension tool to try and figure out some targets. So we're gonna go from down here to here, and once again, this really depends where it bounces off of, where it pivots off of. But for safety's sake, let's say this local high that we put in was the pivot point. So where can we expect the price to retrace to? So we're looking at this graph, the percent graph. So our first target should be between the 50% and the 61.8%, which when looking at our moving averages seems a little low for me. So if you're shorting from here, I'm definitely going to be, I'll denote the target zones, I guess, in yellow with a green outline. I would definitely look to set this area for sure. I would even argue maybe this area for sure as a target zone. So maybe even that could be at the bottom of the wick of the drop that we had. But anywhere around here, that's, I would say, a very good place to put your first take profit. Second take profit is going to be, anywhere in this 50 to 61.8%. But as you can see, there is that nice overlap between our actual Fibonacci retracement. So let's actually get rid of the MAs here for a second. Let's throw in the VPVR, as I think volume is very important. So you can actually see that volume is going to be dictating that our thickest level of support. Let's zoom out a little bit to get get a little bit bigger and better of a picture. Is I would probably target, I would have to say, despite our Fibonacci retracements and extensions, I want to say this is going to be a pretty good place to put your second target. And then lastly, this is technically our fully realized target, but I don't think we're going to be setting any lower lows or macro lows. I think we have put a bottom in at this point, so I don't think this is a valid level. I could see us maybe dropping down to 0.618 level, but I wouldn't recommend it. But if you wanted to set a third take profit anywhere in probably this region would be good. But remember, whenever setting up these medium time frame take profits, these are very general areas, and they're all contingent on momentum, like how fast did it take us to get into these areas. Are we sitting in these areas for a while? These are just general outlines of levels that I will be watching. And if you're going into them blindly, if you're trading nothing but the higher time frame, they're possible, but anything associated with higher time frames is, although higher time frame analysis might be a little bit more accurate, or it tends to be more accurate. It's hard to predict exact exits or clean exits, so that's why I do use it like on a medium time frame to determine my bias, but I don't necessarily plan entries and exits on a medium time frame. I usually like to do that on a shorter, on an hourly time frame, day by day. But anyway, I would say on a medium time frame, if that's your thing, I would be looking for short entries. Once again, make sure to check out my shorter time frame video, as I do outline a more detailed zone. But I would say anywhere in this region being under this trend line, this big red trend line. So anywhere from here, and these being your targets, I would probably want to sell. A third would be conservative here, and especially move my stop loss to entry after we hit target 1, as there is potential for a reversal and a bullish continuation, as we are technically in an uptrend here. As you can see, this could just be another little pullback, as we've seen in a number of different situations. I'd say this is shorting zone, first target, pretty real potential for a reversal here. If not, look at these levels next. But let me know if this helped. Make sure to check out my shorter time frame video for intraday swings and more detailed setups. Thank you.